Hello, everyone, and welcome to Developing Palates. I'm Aaron Loomis, and with me, as always, is Jiunn Liu. How you doing, Jiunn?
Very good.
So tonight we are talking about the Viva Republica Art of War Corona Gorda, and this cigar is 6-inch by 47 ring gauge, and this comes out of the La Aurora factory in the Dominican Republic. The wrapper is stock cut Connecticut broadleaf and Dominican Candela. Binder is Ecuadorian Sumatra, and the filler is from Colombia, Nicaragua, and Dominican Republic. It's blended by Jason Hawley. Price point is $9.50, and it was released in July of 2016. So with all the cigar details out of the way, let's get into our pre-light experience. So Jiunn, what was your pre-light experience like?
Um, in terms of the presentation of the cigar, I thought the box that came with the cigar was the best part of it. uh, so what I mean by that specifically is the actual wrapper. It has a really like rustic look to it in a sense of like he got his ass whooped in a fight.
Mhm.
So the wrapper on mine was just overly stretched, and there was some a couple of major unpressed veins. The seams were pretty tight and seamless, which is good. And the cap, for me, it was really difficult to gauge where the cap was uh, because, like, I couldn't really make out where they put the cap. It almost seemed like the wrapper, they just kept rolling the wrapper, and at the end, they finish off with that man bun.
Yep.
Uh, and moving into the pre-light aromas, off the wrapper, I got some barnyard flowery perfume. Um, Nosing the foot, got some nose tingling dry wet pepper. Cold draw. So the entire foot was the part that's enclosed with the candela wrapper,
Mhm.
and I couldn't get anything out of it, so it yielded nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Wrapper was a deep brown, fair amount of lighter marbling color to it. There were a couple of decent sized veins that also had a lighter brown outline to them. The foot of the cigar, it's close to a ½ inch of that Dominican Candela. It's kind of a light tan color rather than a green that you normally kind of think of for Candela. And that portion of the wrapper completely enclosed the foot, like Jiunn was saying. Um, the cap, and I put kind of a S in parentheses because just like you were saying, like I guess there's a cap on it. It's really hard to tell. Like you can't really see it, but it's just kind of finished off with that pigtail that's wrapped into that man bun that we kind of use as the term. Um, there's no band on the samples that we had, but they've shown a band in the artwork when the cigar was first announced. So I'm assuming that once if you go to a retailer and buy this, that there's going to be a band on it. It looked like it was like kind of blue and silver, blue and gray kind of artwork on it. Um, the aroma from the wrapper was like a sweet barnyard, and the aroma from the foot, which is just that candela wrapper, was like a very light hay. And just like June's experience, no pre-light draw because that foot was completely enclosed. It's not like It's not like or it's like excess wrapper that's folded over. It's actually just like it's another cap on that flat foot. So it was just completely enclosed, so you couldn't pull any air through it. So there was nothing that you can get from it. So that's kind of the reason for that experience there. But getting into flavors, kind of take us through your first third to final third experience.
so in the beginning, burning through the candela portion, um, I got some very distinctive full flavors of toasted nuts, sweet bread, and oak. Um, And then when I moved into the broadleaf portion of the cigar, in addition to those flavors that I just said, some flavors of leather and oily black pepper started mixing in. Through the retro, I got favorable intensified black pepper, toasted nuts, and slight charred wood. The finish gave me faint charred wood mixed with black pepper. In terms of strength, the started out medium. By the end of that first third, it was a medium full. And in regards to body, I pegged it somewhere in between medium and medium full. Moving on to the second third's complexities died down, and I namely got like a play between toasted nuts and that oily black pepper spice. Um, So that's kind of like the tier one of the flavors and the most dominant, prominent flavors I got. So kind of accompany those flavors. I got some charred wood and some slight bread. On the retro, still that same level of the black pepper, toasted nuts, faint grassiness. Finish lingered with faint charred wood and black pepper. Strength continued to be medium full, and body still somewhere in between medium and medium full. And moving on to the very last third, I thought the last third was mainly just dominant with leather, some oily, and then that same oily pepper, black pepper, and a little bit of bread. Through the retro, still that same level, black pepper spice that's intensified, and toasted nuts. Finish is mainly comprised of faint charred wood mixing with that black pepper still. Strength still medium full, and then body still, tagged in between that medium full range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, initial draws for me brought like a spicy and a slightly sweet caramel flavor. After a few draws, that caramel kind of transitioned to a cedar and maintained some of that spice. Half inch in, some cream came in to create a really good blend of that slightly spicy cedar and cream. The retrohale was also like a mild spicy cedar. And then 3/4 of an inch in, that spiciness went away. And even though the cream remained, the cedar was a little bit drying. And then at an inch in, some sweetness became present on the retrohale to mix with the cedar. And then as the third came to a close, it was a very mellow mix of the cedar and the cream. And the strength was just slightly below medium. And then as the second third began, the cedar and the cream were continuing on, but there was like a slight sweetness and saltiness that was present in the background. And then at a half inch in, that sweet and spicy background note went away, and a little bit of bitterness came in to go along with the cedar and the cream. And then an inch in, the cedar transitioned to oak, and it had a slight char to it. Inch and a half in, profile was charred oak, cream, and a slightly spicy bitterness. The retrohale was like a slightly charred oak, and the strength had just moved up a little bit to be right at medium. And then getting into the final third, it's charred oak, cream, a little bit of bitterness on the finish. The retrohale was a light creamy oak. And then at a 1/4 inch in, a little black coffee joined in. At 3/4 of an inch in, a spicy heat kind of joined the mix of the slightly charred oak and the coffee bitterness. And then at an inch and a half in, that spicy heat went away, and the profile was that slightly charred oak with the coffee bitterness. As the cigar finished up, that bitterness went away. Some cream came back in, and that mixed with the that slightly charred oak that was there. And the strength in that third was slightly above medium. So it went from slightly below medium, and then slightly above medium. So it was just really hovered around that medium range in strength. So getting into performance, burn and draw, what was your experience like?
Although the burn was good overall, the total smoking time came in at 1 hour and 15 minutes, which is pretty good for what is this, like a Corona Gorda, right?
Mm-hmm.
The burn line pretty sharp the entire time. The ash just held on pretty tight, but it was pretty flowery for mine. I averaged about 1 inch increments in ash marks. On the draw was interesting. The draw started out really nice and almost perfect, but into the second half, at the second half rather of the cigar, the draw became super loose for me. Not sure why. I typically don't ever have this kind of a, I guess, transition in draws. But once that started happening, the cigar started to heat. And that really required me to slow down my draws, because I realized when I drew on it, within the same amount of frequency that I did before it got really loose, I started getting a lot of heat that came out of it. So I had to really start paying attention to it.
Yeah, for me, the burn was like the model for a razor sharp burn line, and that was the entire way through. I mean, it was just dead on. It never wavered a bit. So it was fantastic, and I got similar experience to you, just kind of like about 1 inch segments for the ash before it was ready to drop. And then the draw was also perfect. I mean, just the right amount of resistance that I like. So I couldn't ask for better performance. It was just exactly what you would want in a cigar, so that there's no attention that has to be paid to it at all. So that was really nice. Overall, what were your thoughts on the cigar?
Um, so, based upon my pre-light experience of basically saying that, the fact that the cigar looked not so great, and my tasting experience, I feel like this is probably one of the best examples of never judging a book by its cover, like kind of never judging a cigar by the look of it. It really kind of affirms the fact that we weigh nothing to the pre-light experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought that, one of the more, what I really enjoyed about the tasting aspects of it, I really like that toasted aspects of the cigar, and that sweet bread. That was super enjoyable, and I got that through most of the cigar. I will say that, for those that's looking for a Connecticut broadleaf, which is what this is, it's not, you're not going to get your typical like Steve Saka style, or perhaps Nick Valillo Tabernacle style of like a dank and chocolatey Connecticut broadleaf in this one. It's quite different. You're going to get more of a spice hit. You're going to get more of the toastiness and that charred kind of a wood aspect to it. So, you should know that if you were to get this, although it is tasty and I recommend people to smoke this, especially within the first third, I thought it was fantastic. But know that it's not your, Saka Malolo flavor of broadleaf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cigar started with a very interesting caramel note, and I kind of attribute that to that Dominican Candela that was at the foot of the cigar. After that, it was a good mix of cedar and cream, kind of in that transition to oak as the cigar progressed. It really wasn't a wowing flavor, but it was good flavors, and that kind of followed a good transition level as the cigar went along. So it was very very interesting progression. I think this is approachable to most smokers. That strength level kind of teetered on that medium range from starting out just below it and finishing just above it. So it's not gonna bash anybody over the head with strength or anything like that. So people that might shy away from like the other Viva Republica offerings that are more on the strong side, this might be a good entry point into the kind of the Viva Republica portfolio. So I really recommend people give this a shot. And like you were saying, it's not like prototypical Connecticut broadleafs. It doesn't have that same profile that kind of is well known as what that profile is like. So it does offer something different. So that's a a good aspect of the cigar. I think for me though, this was something that Jason put out in a larger ring gauge. So most of his previous offerings were shorter vitolas, smaller ring gauges, and with a heightened strength level. So this is a very different experience. I think I prefer the other ones just because I'm okay with the higher strength level and that kind of more concentrated flavor level. But I could definitely see people that kind of are scared off by those cigars. And I mean, he does, guerrilla warfare, advanced guerrilla warfare, like those names kind of like, you're expecting some, hostility in them. So, people might shy away from those. So this may be a perfect way to kind of get into the portfolio and see what you think. So those are kind of my thoughts on the cigars. So it's definitely something that's worthwhile to try for the people that haven't really experienced this brand before. So getting into scores, you gave it a 6.80. I gave it a 6.67. How do you think your score matched up with the experience?
It matched up well. The flavors, I enjoy the flavors overall. It's just that the performance aspect of it wasn't so great. Wasn't as good as I guess the recent run of cigars from my BCPR, I guess. Yeah, I mean it's a tasty cigar. You bring up a couple good points. First about the Candela portion that you smoked through. What I find very interesting, and this kind of goes out to like the new wave of Candelas that's been coming out the last year or two or so. It was just having so much more substance to it, right? So in the aspects of body and the aspect of just distinctiveness and fullness and flavors, I kind of want to try the cigar if it's just within all that Candela wrapper with the same binder and fillers in there.
Right.
I think I'll probably like it even more, honestly. um, but yeah, and then within talking about broadleaf, I mean, I totally forgot to leave something like, of course, Drew State Liga stuff out there, right? Like the Liga 9s. But it was interesting. I came into this cigar thinking, oh man, I better eat a big ass steak because it's gonna freaking pop my head off. Because typically within the Viva Republica line, it's been so strong. But yeah, this would be great for guys that have been in that band camp and that mentality, such as mine, of thinking, man, this stuff is just really strong, and I don't want to touch another one. This will be your gateway back into trying more of that profile that La Roya has.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think my score matches up perfectly with the experience. I mean, good flavors. Performance is fantastic. I mean, can't ask for anything better on the sample that I smoked. So definitely something that's worthwhile trying. I definitely recommend people, search this out, especially those that, maybe shy away from the Connecticut broadleaf just because of the, the typical fact that those cigars are stronger in strength. But yeah, it's this one doesn't have that level of strength, so it's something that you can get into, and you get that candela up front. So even if the broadleaf is a little bit stronger, it eases you into that. So it's not going to just hit you right up front and boom, you're like, I want to put this down, or I got to reach for the sugar right away. It's like you shouldn't really have to even experience that throughout the entire cigar. So
right.
Definitely something that people would find enjoyable. So any other thoughts on the cigar?
No.
All right. Well, thank you for watching this video on YouTube. If you're just catching us here, be sure to subscribe to us. You'll get notified every time we post up a new review recap. But be sure to go to the website, developingpalates.com, to read the full written review. And be sure to follow us on all the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google+. And thank you for watching, and we will catch you on the next video.